Okay, so I wanted to use this video to do a very quick overview, not very, as concise as possible, overview of all the dreams I've had about the tsunami and earthquake which will be occurring in New Zealand soon. I have been getting messages in my dreams lately telling me to back off and stop doing these videos for now. I have been meeting lots of people here, and I just met an American engineer, Christian, who is working in Riobamba, and he has a friend, an American friend, who's been having dreams about the Third World War just like I have. So I'm going to contact this guy and a few other Americans also, and what I am going to do, I've thought about this carefully, I'm going to likely take a long break from making videos on this channel after this. It's just not a good time for me to do it. Stuff happening in my life, but then I would like to, when I come back to it, maybe 3 to 6 months time, when I have the money and the resources and I'm in a better position to put more energy and time into this, I would like to do a long video, perhaps 60 or 80 minutes, so an hour or an hour and 20, maybe an hour and a half, 90 minutes. This thing would be, and it would be a documentary style video, and I would be talking about, well, I wouldn't be talking much. It would be mainly focused on sharing the many different accounts that people of these visions, sharing the many different prophetic dreams that people have been having about this Third World War. And I'll present the information in a kind of scientific manner without a lot of religious dogma, because that will turn a lot of people off. But if you present the evidence, you're going to get a lot more people potentially listening. So I'll couch it in both a scientific and a spiritual framework in terms of the terminology and the way I present it, but I'm not going to get too much into religious terminology from any one tradition, because then I'll turn up people off, and I want to reach as wide a variety of people as possible, as wide an audience as possible, and the purpose will be to warn people about what's coming, to save lives. And it will save lives. It's only a question of how many, because other people have done simple videos with their warnings, and that's, I think, potentially saved my life and 2 others, because I've been directed to go to the US and warn 2 female friends of mine who are research scientists, PhDs there, and they would not do well in a Third World War nuclear war situation. So I've been directed to go reconnect with them and help warn them to get them out of there. So that's just letting you know what I'm planning to do in the near future. I don't really care if you dislike my videos. You're free to stop watching them. So I don't mind people dislike them. I have an issue when people make abusive or toxic comments. Had some interesting downloads about this recently. A lot of baby boomers, my parents' generation, talk about how many people in our generation are very sensitive and oversensitive. There is a lot of truth to that, to be fair, but like, I've experienced this myself. I can handle criticism, even a lot of abuse, even physical violence. I'm surprised at how much I can handle when I have my needs met. But like a lot of people in our generation, I've been suffering from social isolation. It's really destroyed, and well, it's in the past it destroyed my mental health. I'm pretty much recovered now, but I don't have the support I need right now, and I'm not that happy because of that, and I'm a bit lonely. So when someone is in that position and they receive even the slightest negative input from someone else, it destroys them. They can't handle it. So I've experienced that myself, but that's why many people in my generation are, quote, oversensitive. It's not because they're weaker. It's more just because I believe, and from the evidence I've seen, they're kind of removed from their peers, and they're all using social media too much and on the internet far too much, and it's not social, it's actually anti-social media. And yeah, just a lot of the way the lifestyle is set up right now, it's making them lonely, and it's cutting them off from people and having real, intimate, meaningful relationships in reality. So I don't have enough of those right now because my life's in transition. So yeah, like, I don't care if you don't like my videos, feel free to dislike them. I don't really like the messages either. You know, I will be honest, I don't like what I've been shown. I understand if people dislike it, but I can't put up with crap. And it's not that I'm oversensitive, it's that I'm depressed and anxious and a little bit still. It's almost gone, but I've still been working through the last of my PTSD, and I can't handle it, guys. So that's why comments are turned off. And yeah, you shouldn't really be abusing and bullying and going at people online anyway, but you know. But I would like to turn comments on when I do that documentary video in the future, and I need to stop. defending everything I'm going to say before I say it, because I've internalized all this criticism from when I was in New Zealand, because it's a toxic society, and yeah, now I've got a massive inner critic, so I'm working on that. I just wanted to explain what my plans are next and why I'm setting us up the way I have with comments turned off, and why I'm taking a break. So they all tie in, all those things tie in together. So into the dreams, right, I'll just crack into it. I did a video of this kind before, and I tried to talk about other stuff, and it just ended up bloating out to like 45 minutes, and I can do it in under 20 potentially, certainly in under 30, so that is the goal of this video. So I'll just get into it straight away, and I'll just say what I've seen in dreams and nothing else. So I'll put as many dreams into this video as I can remember off the top of my head. So, alright, go. I've had between 100 and 150 of these dreams over the last 11 years, so I can't remember all of them. I'm just going to share with you the details of the most memorable ones that I've had off the top of my head. Okay, so the first dreams that I had about it were around 2010. I was standing at the recreational ground in Eastbourne, which is a rugby field on Aurora Street. It's close to where my family home was, where I grew up there, and I was standing there. The very first dreams I had about it, I remember I was standing there facing this line of Pohutakawa, Metrosideros robusta, it's the Latin scientific name for that species of tree. Facing that line of Pohutakawa trees, which separates the beach from that ground, and then there's some stairs that go down to the beach. And I was looking out in confusion and shock as I saw these enormous waves coming in through those trees, and the whole football field was under about 2 feet of water, about 60 centimeters of water, and it was coming up to my thighs, and the waves kept coming in, and I was rooted to the spot, and I was terrified, and I didn't understand it. Shortly afterwards, I began having dreams where I was walking on these big beaches of thick grey wacky shingle, which have washed up further south in Eastbourne. This part of Eastbourne on maps is actually labelled Muratai these days, near Greenwood Park and near the end of Nikau Street, for those of you who know Eastbourne, or you can just look it up on a map, see what I'm talking about there. So the beach is really wide there. It's perhaps 100 metres wide. It's because all this grey wacky shingle washed down these rivers, like the Orongorongo River, which is just around the coast. And after an enormous earthquake, the last really big earthquake in 1855, it caused all these landslips, and then all this earth, and rock washed into the rivers, and gradually got broken down, moved around the shore, and ended up washing up in Eastbourne. So these beaches are very enormous and thick there. And I was standing on the shingle, and I could see these tsunamis coming in, and I was rooted to the spot in terror. But then I started running, and I was running really slowly, and my feet were sort of dragging and digging into the gravel, and I couldn't run away fast enough. Many people have had those dreams relating to other things. I didn't know they were literal at the time. So yeah, it was around 2012 when I had those ones. So they increased in detail as time went on. I talked to a friend of mine at the time, and I asked her about it, and she said, "Oh, that's symbolic. It means you're running away from a fear. Next time you have those dreams, you should run towards the waves and see what happens." So I did that. I ran towards the waves in my next set of dreams, and I died. So much for that theory. As I said in some other videos, I'm not sure if those ones are set to public from memory, but only you can interpret your dreams, so that was a good lesson. And yeah, I was running away, and I had other dreams where I was running up Nikau Street to get away from the waves. So as I said, the dreams got more detailed as time went on. I've had dreams where it's, looking back now, I think it was my soul. I was experiencing what someone will experience there in the future. Many of these dreams you're actually seeing, it's like a movie, and you're in someone else's body, and you're experiencing what they will experience in the future. So it's like God is putting your consciousness in their body, and you're seeing a movie in first person, watching their experiences through their eyes. I didn't even know that's what was happening until the last 3 months, but I think now this is what some of my dreams have been. I'm still learning about how it works, and in these dreams, a few of these dreams, I'm a person in Eastbourne. Sometimes I'm in the Lower Hutt, and in one of them I remember, I've had this one a few times, so the tsunami, the earthquake hit, and then everyone in Eastbourne knew there was going to be a tsunami, and I was sprinting down up to Toki Street onto Miratai Road. So up to Toki Street, then turned right into Miratai Road, sprinted along for about 200 metres to the entrance to Miratai Park track, and then I was sprinting up the hill. And I had family members with me, and we were all just running to get up the hill before the tsunami arrived, and we knew it was going to arrive soon. I had another dream where I was in Eastbourne, and I was in this position, and I was in a different person though, and at a different track. So I ran up Mackenzie track, which is behind the senior wing of Miratai School in Eastbourne, and I had run, we were about probably 60 meters above sea level up these tracks, and we were at a point where we could see everything below very clearly. There was no vegetation obstructing our view, and there was a group of maybe 15 of us, New Zealanders, residents of Eastbourne. So there were some older people, 50s and 60s, mostly middle-aged, some teenagers, some children, so a wide variety of age groups, all New Zealand European. Eastbourne's population is about 97% New Zealand European, so it reflects that demographic. And we were looking out, and it was really interesting. I can see it in my mind's eye, closing my eyes now, I'm visualizing it. We could see the tsunamis coming in and hitting Eastbourne. And when they initially hit, the waves came in with so much speed and energy, they kind of exploded when they hit the building. It looks like they exploded. All the spray just blasted up into the skies as they hit the first row of houses. And I could hear women around me screaming and crying, and other people just gasping and like kind of swearing. It was just shock. That shock was sort of that people were vocalizing, and there were people crying and hugging each other, consoling each other. And then the first set of waves smashed into these buildings and exploded, but then tsunamis don't come in one wave, they actually come in a train of waves. So then more waves began coming in, and quickly the whole town was inundated by the tsunami, and you could see the water. It was between 5 to 12 meters deep. That's what it looked like. And yeah, I'll be honest, I've been shown someone I know I don't have a relationship with this person in the past. Now, I had a relationship with them in the past. I don't have a relationship with them now, but I was shown this person who I know. I won't even give any hints that could suggest to people watching this who they are, because I've told some people who I know personally who this person is, and I don't want to give it away. But I was shown them dead, so I was shown that they panic when the earthquake happens, and they drove their car back into Eastbourne. I think it was Eastbourne. It might have been Symbolic, that part. In any case, they didn't act rationally because they responded out of fear. So they drove their car in a panic to get somewhere, and they didn't get to high ground calmly and rationally. So they got caught by the tsunami, and I was shown in a dream, another dream that was showing similar events to what I saw from that vantage point in Mackenzie Track looking down over Eastbourne. I was shown this person in their car dead, with their eyes closed and their mouth open, like, you know, their soul had left their body, that passed over. And in the dream, I could see their body in the car beneath 10 meters of water. And I was shown their body in the car on Remu Street in the center of Eastbourne, where the shops are. And in reality, the water there is very dark because there's a lot of phytoplankton. There's a lot of nutrients that come into Wellington Harbour, and there's also a lot of sun, so you get a lot of tiny microscopic plant life. So plankton, phytoplankton is the animal sort, zooplankton is the animal sort. That's the base of the marine food chain. That's why the water in New Zealand, around the coast of New Zealand, and particularly in Wellington Harbour, is very green, and you can't often see far through it because it's actually very rich. Biologically, it's very rich. So historically, those are some of the most productive fisheries in the world in those temperate waters, and a lot of tropical seas, like here, for example, are deserts by comparison because they have a lot of primary productivity. They're kind of like rainforests, so usually you can't see deep into those waters. For that reason, they're so green, and visibility is usually around, like, often only 2 or 3 meters. And in a tsunami, you'd probably be lucky if it was 2 or 3 inches, 10 centimeters, because there'll be all this debris and earth and soil in the water from what the tsunami picks up. So this won't be the case in real life, but in this dream, it was like I was in a drone or a helicopter about 20 meters above the water where it had come over Eastbourne, and I was looking down into the water from this helicopter, this drone-like vantage point, diagonally down through it, And in the dream, it was all transparent, and I could see this person I knew dead in their car. So that wasn't symbolic. This person is going to die when this happens, and I know who it is. And what else? I've had dreams where I was in near Korokoro in Petone, and I was someone who was working, and I had a job in the Te Mail Centre. It's now a Bunnings. I think it's in a Mitre 10 mega warehouse, or it was when I left New Zealand. It used to be the Te Mail Centre. I had a job there from June 2008 to July 2009, so I know that area quite well. So maybe this is partly why I had so many dreams in that area. But I've had dreams where I was someone who was working in that area when the earthquake and tsunami happened, and I left a building in the industrial zone there on the Petone foreshore, and I was running with my co-workers, and we were just sprinting to get up into the hills. And there's a motorway there. We jumped over, there's a railway line too. We jumped over the railway line and the highway, and then we just scrambled up into the bush and into the forest there, and we got up into the hills above Korokoro, and then we were safe. Then once we were up there, now I'm remembering, I had similar dreams there to what I've had above, as to those where I saw the stuff from Mackenzie track in Eastbourne. So we got about 50 metres above sea level to an open area, and then there was a group of us. In these dreams, it was a little later on. It was maybe half an hour to an hour after the earthquake, because the tsunamis had mostly come through, and the sky kind of looked like it does today. It was grey, and it's kind of stormy. There wasn't much blue sky. It looked like it was, I'll get to the timing in a second, but it looked like it was happening around 1 p.m, 2 p.m. But the tsunamis had come right in, and the whole of the Lower Hutt Valley just looked like a natural extension of Wellington Harbour. And we could see these, it was actually very beautiful. It was kind of eerie, kind of beautiful in a strange and mysterious way, and kind of terrifying and majestic and shocking. It was all these things at once. But interestingly, the overwhelming thing I got from the dream, it was very beautiful in this kind of terrible way. And it was a feeling of the sense of the power and the strength of nature, and that we shouldn't mess with the forces of our planet, and that we should respect it. There was this kind of vibe I got associated with what I was seeing. But it just looked like an extension of Wellington Harbour. So Petone and the suburbs like Alice-town and Moeda and White Lines East and and Woburn in the Lower Hutt Valley in Hutt City, they were just all underwater, and they were part of, the sea had come in about 1 or 2 kilometres, and I could see waves moving around, and it was very dark and stormy. You could see houses and wreckage and things from the destroyed urban areas there, and people were just gasping and in shock, and it was the level of destruction was high, because the earthquake will do a lot, but then the tsunami was just so large, and the sea level had come up so high, so far, and it was shocking in the dream. We were just kind of dumbfounded. All these dreams were pretty short, so that's partly why I can pack so many into a video, because they're just short little snippets. Some people have very long detailed dreams. Mine tend to be shorter. So the timing, it happens in the daytime. The sun is not going up, it's not going down. Looks like it happens between, I would say, 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Gut feeling from what I've seen. Those dreams where I saw it from Korokoro a little later on in the day, it felt like 1 or 2 p.m. So I think it happens midday, basically. I don't know exactly when, but between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. It's probably as much detail as you'll need. That'll help though, that will help people to know roughly when it happens, when to expect it to happen. Yeah, all the dreams, that's consistent. The time of day and what the sun is doing in the sky. So that's useful information. Remember that could help when this happens. Just to be alert of, like, know that it will happen at these times. And at these times to be more aware. I had another dream. I had a dream where I was in Days Bay at a spot on the foreshore near where Catherine Mansfield's house is currently, her old house. I think there's a plaque there for it. So this famous in New Zealand writer. She's not famous internationally, but she's famous in New Zealand, and she's known in literary circles worldwide among some people, and prominent New Zealander. She had this house there, and it was about 30 meters south of this house on the foreshore, and I was sitting on these rocks, and I was looking south over to the other side of Days Bay, and I could see Days Bay in front of me, and all of a sudden God shifted the scenery that I was seeing in front of me, and it was like it was all of a sudden on a computer video editing program, and it kind of it's like it rubbed out, it erased all the rubbed out, we would say in the Commonwealth countries, I think I would say erased in the US, all the imagery, and it was like a white screen, but they erased it beneath a certain line of height on the hills that I was looking at, and then it drew in a hatched line, so yeah, like a line of little breaks in it to mark where the tsunami would go, like how high it would go up the land there. And I got told, the universe told me, God, the universe told me that the tsunami's run-up height will be 17 meters high. And I was shown that, yeah, and I was being shown how high it will go up the hills. And I could see that the water would cover a lot of houses there, but that many houses also in Days Bay would be above that line, so it wouldn't destroy all the homes in Days Bay. As I said in one of these other videos, the destruction won't be as bad in the bays around that are in front of Eastbourne, as well. You go through the bays as you're driving to get to Eastbourne on the road that leads into that suburb. So it goes Point Howard, Sorrento Bay, Lowry Bay, York Bay, Mahina Bay, Sunshine Bay, Days Bay. So I think it's 7 in total. So you go through 7 bays, and if you count Point Howard as a bay, it's more of a suburb. But most of the houses in those suburbs and most of those bays are built high above sea level. It's only really Lowry Bay where a lot of the houses are still not high above sea level, so a lot more people will survive and the damage will be far less in those areas. It's probably at least 80% of the homes in Eastbourne are just above sea level. So Eastbourne will basically be wiped out. All that's left would be what is on the hills, which is probably less than 20% of the homes in that suburb. So that was where I was being given the height of the waves. I had another dream. I forget the details exactly of this one, but God gave me the numbers for the death toll. I was told between 40 and 90,000 people will be killed. I got given that information fairly bluntly. I had another one later where I got given a number, 83,500, which I believe was a more specific figure. And I believe that was, but I'm not sure. I think that was a more specific number telling me the exact death toll, but I didn't get told it was the exact death toll. I just got given that number, and there was a kind of hint of that, but I'm not sure. So there's some things I'm sure about these predictions, and I'll be honest about that, but I'll also be honest about what I'm not sure about, because there is a lot of stuff I'm not sure about. I had another dream. I've had a series of dreams regarding a ship entering Wellington Harbour. So it looks like a bigger version of one of the inter-islander ferries, and it capsizes close to the entrance of Wellington Harbour, and it capsizes about 2 kilometres south of Burden's Gate, which is south of Eastbourne. You go through this gate and you get onto what we call in New Zealand a metal road, which is an unpaved road with hard stones and gravel to make it, it's better than a dirt track, but it's not a properly paved road either. It's for kind of off-road vehicles, and people use it for cycling, and people walk down there to the lighthouse at Pencarrow Head for just recreation, to explore. There's some lakes there, and yeah, we were about 2 kilometres south of Burden's Gate, where the paved road ends and you get onto this metal road. And the ship that I am on, it capsizes when the tsunamis hit. So it looks like it's trying to escape when the earthquake happens. It's either trying to get into the harbour or it's trying to get out of the harbour in some of them, but in either case it can't, and it gets caught side on, so the ship gets turned on its side, which is the worst possible thing that could happen when you have these enormous waves coming, and then it gets hit smack on on the starboard, the right hand side, as you're facing the bow of the ship side, and then the ship capsizes, it turns over, and I'm on the deck of the ship in some of these dreams, and I know this is happening, and this is about to happen. I can see it starting to tilt, and I I can see myself in the dreams doing the calculations in my head, knowing that when it capsizes, I'll be trapped under it. So I rush to okay, so the ship, it's the bow is facing sea turn, and the stern is facing the Eastbourne foreshore. So the ship is pointing, so the bow, the front of the ship is pointing to the west, and the back of the ship is pointing to the east. And then the wave hits it on the port side from the left as it comes in the entrance of Wellington Harbour. And I do I can see it, I do a little visualization in my head, knowing what's about to happen and working out how to maximize my chances of survival. And I run to the port side of the ship where the tsunamis are going to hit, and I grab a railing and I hang on for dear life, because I know that when it capsizes, that side will be I know that when I'm on that side, I will be flung into the air, and I'll be hanging on upside down as it capsizes. But then when it comes down on the other side, I know that I can just swim out from underneath it to get away. Or maybe as it capsizes, I will kind of boost myself off my legs to get away from the ship. But yeah, if I'm on the other side of the ship, which is away from the wave, if you visualize this correctly in your head, it'll get sucked under, and there's more of a chance I could get trapped. I know that in the dream, so I'm just trying to maximize my chances of survival, and it's terrifying. And there's a few other people doing that on the ship, because we know we might not make it, but we're just trying to do what we can to survive. And then I've had other dreams where I'm on that ship. These were interesting. I was in a dining gallery. I got the number 3,500. There were thousands of people. In the dream, it was much bigger than this ship would be in reality, because there were thousands of people. It looked more like one of those big cruise liners that can take, 4,000 or 5,000 people. And I got up on a stage, and I was yelling at everyone to get out and get to the life rafts, because the tsunami is about to hit. And only a few people listened to me, and then between 5 and 10 people followed me, and we got out on the decks and we cut ropes that were holding some of these lifeboats there, and we lowered them into the sea, and we got away from the ship before it got hit by the tsunamis. So that was a slightly different scenario there. But in some of these dreams, I've had multiple dreams where I'm getting to the right side of the ship to be in a position that will maximize my chances of survival when it capsizes. Yeah, in some of them I'm warning people, and I got given that number 3,500. I've seen it wrecked, upside down, capsized, close to the rocks there. And it looks similar to what happened to the Wahine, and the Wahine disaster in the late 1960s, which was one of the worst disasters in New Zealand's history. I think it killed about 151 people. And so it was a similar scenario. Interestingly, other people have seen something similar happening in dreams. I've seen a comment on YouTube, and someone was on the hills above Wainuiomata, and they said they saw ships and boats being picked up, and they looked like tiny toys being tossed around in the harbour. And they also saw the tsunamis come in over the isthmus of the Miramar Peninsula at Rongotai, and they saw planes, in the harbour afterwards that had been washed out. So other people have seen that stuff. This guy who made this comment, which I've seen in one of these videos, I took screenshots of it. I'll see if I can find it in the future. Maybe I'll put that comment in one of my future videos. He said when he was on Wainuiomata Hill, he saw the tsunamis coming in low over the Hutt Valley and coming up the valley, and he said in his dream, he was saying, what a waste of life, because he could see lots of people drowning below. And what else? I had some symbol. I've also had dreams where I've seen the lakes at Henkara Head, so the Porangahawa Lakes, Kohanga Piripiri and Kohanga Tira. I've seen the tsunamis coming up over the gravel beaches, the gravel berms. So there are gravel beaches, berms, about 50 to 100 meters wide that separate those lakes from the sea. When rainfall is really high, the streams reach a level where they can break through that and they flow to the sea, but often they don't even reach the sea. I think they might have put a concrete weir in, so to enable the passage of native fish as part of conservation efforts in recent years, but in the past it would the streams that flow into those lakes, that supply those lakes with water, would only reach the sea when there was higher water levels. And in the past, I've read about those lakes. They were actually part of the coastline, so they were just inlets, but beaches and they've been uplifted by past earthquakes, and now with the beach kind of has formed a kind of barrier, so that's where how the lakes have formed. But in these dreams, it looked like they were in the past. They were just inlets of the sea. So the sea had come right up over those beaches, and the tsunamis had gone far up those valleys, so that the tsunami waters had gone over the lakes and then up the wetlands, gone up the Kohanga stream, Lake Kohanga, which is the one further to the west, and up Golan stream, which is the stream that runs into Lake Kohanga, which is the one to the east of there. And then I could see lots of wreckage and debris strewn around. And there was a few other details in that dream that weren't really relevant though, but I was at one point swimming through the debris to get further up those valleys. So they'll go far up. Yeah, they'll affect those areas. No one lives there though, so it's not going to kill anyone. Yeah, and then I had this way I was given those dreams. Yeah, the height of the waves, the death toll, this person who's going to die. I'm just trying to think if there were many others. So I've had some other interesting... Okay, my battery's going, so it's probably time to wrap up. The timing's fine. That's... My most recent dream I had, I was 200 meters out off the coast of Days Bay, and the harbour was dry. The waters had pulled back before the tsunami came in, and I was sprinting to get to Days Bay Wharf. And maybe that was symbolic. That was only about a month ago. It was the last dream I've had about this. That's most of them. My battery's about to go. That's the signal. This needs to be wrapped up anyway. I might do another one with a few of the other dreams that I can remember, but that's 90%, and that's the most important ones. Oh yeah, I had a dream also where I was, this is an important one to mention, I was on the hills above Eastbourne and Muritai Park track with a megaphone, and I was yelling into the megaphone, warning everyone below, in the town below. And that was God symbolically telling me that I need to warn people. So that's why I'm doing this. So I was told to do this. I'll leave it there. But I might do another video where I talk about these other ones that I mentioned. But as I said, that's 90%. It's close, but I don't know when it will happen.